Hey everybody, welcome to Chris Anderson Comics. Very special episode today because my good friend Tom Neely is with us. How you doing, man?
Howdy.
Doing good. Don't do too many of these actually in the studio ones, and so this is nice. I prefer it this way.
Yeah,
actually,
it's fun.
Can actually have a conversation with the person in front of me.
It's
nice. So we're here to talk about your new book based on a property, I guess property that you've been working on for a long time, Henry and Glenn.
Yep.
And you've got all new Henry and Glenn comics and stories. But this isn't, like I said, it's not something that it's new, really. I mean, the book is new, but you've been working on Henry and Glenn stories for a while. What do you want to tell people kind of like what it's about roughly?
Roughly, it's about if Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig were together. So take that as you want. It started as a sort of a joke between me and three friends almost 20 years ago. 20 years ago in 2004. And the result was this first book by me and the Igloo Tornado, which is my group of art friends at the time. And we just would jam on these on bar napkins and stuff just to make each other laugh. And it became kind of a cult hit that then went into a series that I opened up to a bunch of other artists and I drew longer form stories and had other guest artists join me to do their own take on the idea. And so that all resulted in this beautiful cover by Jim Rugg, the hardcover, completely ridiculous edition, which is, this version is out of print, but the same book is available with a new cover by me. It's the same content, but this one's still available. And then, so this came out in 2014, this in 19, I think. And then, this just came out now, brand new, all new stories. I decided to start it up again.
So this kind of just like snowballed, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
It was like you guys were sitting in a bar, just having drinks, joking about like what if these guys were like together, and started drawing on napkins. You did a little comic, and then just more and more, you got more people involved because this has like a murder's row of like amazing creators.
It's like over 50 artists involved in the original series. I came out as individual issues. It was like 4 issues, but then I expanded on that. So even if you only have the 4 individual issues, there's more. There's even like 100 more pages of stuff in the complete edition. So
that's absolutely.
It just like kept getting bigger and bigger, and the more I traveled to conventions with it, the more people told me they wanted to be involved or they had an idea. So I just like kept, adding my friends to the roster. And it was such a weird cult phenomenon that it was one of those things where at the time I felt like, I can, this is going to an entirely different audience in the comics world, because it exploded in the music and the zine world more than comics. Comic shops ignored it.
Right.
So I was like, maybe this will help some of my friends in comics reach a wider audience if I invite them to be along. So it was always just like a fun way of like spreading the word through this really stupid idea that came out of a beer bottle.
Yeah, but that's, sometimes you just got to follow that, you know, and see where it goes. And apparently people were like starving for it because, I mean, as far as I know, it seems like it sold like crazy. So many people know about it.
Yeah.
It's caused, controversy here along the line, which is a good thing, I think. That's like, it's very punk of you.
Yeah.
To even have no, I don't think so much Henry, right? But Glenn is like not happy about it, right?
Yeah, Glenn called me an asshole in Rolling Stone magazine. Which is awesome.
You should tattoo that article on your sleeve.
And Henry actually wrote a thing in LA Weekly years ago after the Charlie Hebdo attacks in France. That was like, if anybody doesn't remember, that was essentially the French Mad magazine got attacked by terrorists. And some people were shot and killed. And Henry Rollins wrote a piece in LA Weekly about in defense of free speech, and at the end of it he mentions my book. He's like, I've never read it, but I love that it exists. I think it's hilarious. So
that's awesome.
So Henry's okay, but he claims he's never read it, which I think is bullshit.
Yeah, it must be bullshit. I hope he's read it. Jesus.
I mean, if somebody made a comic about me, I'd read it.
I mean, me too. So let's just take a quick look at it. So you've got this, like, first of all, your cartooning is some of the best I've ever seen. I study your stuff a lot. I study your line work and the way that you, not just the way that you draw with your cartooning, but also, you know, the way that you write things. And you're like one of the few comic creators, friends that I know that like regularly will grab old like cartoon books, old cartoon comics. You know, I know I don't know a lot of people who are going to pick up like Little Lulus and Caspers here.
Yeah, he hit me up like a couple of years ago. I was like, hey, I need some reference for like kids comics, like weird cartoon comics. Of like, I got tons of that shit.
I knew you would have it. But so you've studied it. In fact, you've worked on like official Popeye in the past. And when you look at your Popeye work, and then I think there's like an anthology that you're in, but there's other artists that are also in it. And when you look at them next to each other, you just blow them out of the water.
Thanks.
So you kind of take bits and pieces of like that style and put it into this. There's definitely like, you know, Little Lulu in Glenn, you know, you can see it, you know, and you can definitely see, you know, that's really funny because you can see Dick Tracy elements.
In a way, he's a combination of them, and he's a combination of them.
yeah. Really, it's really true. Was that a conscious choice, or did it just kind of happen?
I love the history of comics. I'm kind of an amateur historian, not necessarily intellectually, just absorbing it all as much as I can. And so when we originally were doing the original zine, I just naturally started first drawings I did was like, oh, I'll draw Glenn as Nancy or Little Lulu kind of like thing. And then that was like, well, what would Henry look like? And Dick Tracy just popped to mind because he's square jawed and everything. It's just like, it just kind of fell into place. And then like, you know, some of the elements of Sluggo and Nancy's relationship, I think, creep into my stories a little bit, or, you know, just funny comics in general. Because it's not, a lot of people see the cover and the concept and they think it's going to be like a gay porn comic, but really it's just like, just me just having fun. And like the new series is me more going a little bit further into the realm of like that style of kids comics and Karl Barks and you know the whole history of those, you know, Harvey comics and everything. I'd be curious. I've never met Jay Stevens, but I bet we have a lot of the same interests in some of those comics.
Yeah, I bet. So there's all the cast of characters is these are like little misfit guys, right?
Well, in this story, so this starts off, it's a sort of a parody of Pet Sematary. This is Stephen King as a priest. They're burying their cat, and this is like a sort of Huey, Dewey, and Louie version of them. So these are their nephews.
Okay.
And they're like, so they talk like Huey, Dewey, and Louie, finishing each other's sentences and call him Uncle Glenry.
Yeah. So, they combine the two.
Yeah.
And then you got the next door neighbors who are Hall & Oates, because in the bigger book you mentioned that like when you guys were talking about it at the bar when you're first there was somebody mentioned Hall & Oates, you know, as a pair, as a duo, and you were like, you know, there's rumors that they were like Satan worshipers, right? Yep. And so that's what they are. They're the next door neighbors who also were Satan worshipers.
Yep, and they just like, you
smoke
know,
bongs,
dope and play riffs in their garage and
oh my god,
make fun of their neighbors.
Yeah. So like this story is really great because it really got me because you had, you know, Pet Sematary I think is burned in my brain. That kid is so fucking creepy.
Oh yeah.
And you know they bury the cat, and you got this whole thing, and then the nephews come out, slice the Achilles. That was like one of those horrifying moments.
Yeah.
And then there's that moment here where he says, "I want to play with you."
Yeah.
And stabs him in the eye.
Stabs him in the eye like his wife.
There's just all you're missing is Zelda.
Yeah, I know. Zelda was actually probably the part that scared me the most when I was a kid. I couldn't quite bring myself. Well, I couldn't. Maybe it'll work its way in later, because you find out in the next page this is a whole dream sequence.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, he falls out of bed.
Oh man. So a reoccurring thing too is you've got this like this Rick Rubin character.
Dick Dubin.
Yep, Dick Dubin, who is like always recording them, and he and the engineer pop in like all the time, and he's always just freaking out at them, and they're just trying to like manage.
Yeah. Some of this is like it gets into give me some French onion soup. I have a lot of friends in the metal and punk world, and many of them have hung out and spent time with Glenn.
Yeah.
And one of them told me this great story about him, like at some banquet, he kept ordering different bowls of French onion soup, like all night. He went through like 6 different bowls and none of them satisfied him. He kept rejecting them all and asked for like a different one. I was just like, I just like, these stories are just given to me. Like,
yeah.
My friends tell me, like, when I travel with a new book, like I meet people along the way that always have a Glenn story. So like it's all just like feeds into my brain and comes out in different ways. So
yeah, he's a super eccentric, interesting character in real life.
And then he's doing an Engelbert Humperdinck cover.
Yeah, I love
instead
that.
Because he did a recent Elvis cover album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. About 3 or 4 years ago, he released he finally did an album of Elvis covers.
That's weird.
You should listen to it. It's interesting. My wife loves it. She's a huge Elvis and huge Danzig fan. I think it's pretty bad, but in a magical way.
Yeah.
It all sounds like it's done in one take. So he just his voice cracks multiple times in some of the songs. And he's just like, fuck it, it's done.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about in here too. I was kind of wondering if these were like inside things about like things that you've heard, because I know you wouldn't just put random things in. There's got to be something behind it, I mean, you might, but this depiction of LA traffic is pretty accurate. Thanks. This is pretty much, if you just like shrunk it down a little bit, that's pretty much what it would look like.
Yep. And will get worse as the years progress.
They kind of the cat has died, so they're
going to adopt a new cat.
And then you got this like Sarah McLachlan singing like like the commercials from the ASPCA or whatever it is,
trying to hypnotize him.
Oh my god. And it's not quite working on it, but so she goes into her metal version.
Yeah, she does a Doom version.
Or Doom version, yeah. And then I love all the like the different versions of the cats in here. That's my dog right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the bears look like her.
Yeah, a little bit. And then they end on this Sphinx cat, which are my favorite cats. I don't really love cats, and I'm highly allergic to them.
I'm highly allergic as well.
So they shit in your house. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah. And they're kind of psychopaths.
Yeah, and they don't care about you. No. So why? They must be doing something to people to get them to love them so much. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that right now, but whatever.
They name him Iggy after Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
So because he's pink and wrinkly and doesn't wear a shirt.
Yeah. And I love how you have this like Stimpy-esque or Ren-esque quality to him too.
Yeah, I definitely designed his mouth after Ren.
Yeah. It's so good. And then just like love how Henry and the cat bond very quickly. Glenn not so much.
Yeah.
And then you got this like montage of them like basically falling for each other. It's so good. Yeah, your montages are amazing.
This is a parody of the cover of the original zine where he was giving Glenn a back rub.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Flopped it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just having a romantic getaway.
Oh man.
Oh, and then Henry gets a part in a movie. He's going to be in a John Twatters movie.
That's right.
So they're talking about the movie, and Glenn just loses his shit because he has a lot of opinions about movies. And then he starts coming up with his own idea for a movie. And
he's so pissed about not being cast as Wolverine.
Yeah, it just keeps coming up randomly. Like where he's like, "Snick it."
He's like a huge comics guy, right?
Yeah. When he wanted to be, when they first did X-Men in the 90s, he wanted to be Wolverine. I don't think he actually got a tryout, but he put it out there that he wanted to play.
Well, he's a very small man.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of would have been perfect. Yeah. Like on the X-Men episodes that we do on the channel all the time, I'm always bringing up how like Wolverine's supposed to be a small little guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hugh Jackman was too tall.
Way too tall.
complaint when he first got the job.
Yeah.
But he turned out to be perfect.
Yeah.
But Glenn is still resentful 20 years later.
I mean, a little bit. I don't blame him. When you're like riding as high as he is, and probably feels like he could do anything, and then it's a slight to not be cast. But can you even act? And then he talks about this movie that he wants to do. It's like there's nothing original.
He's going off about there's nothing original in movies anymore, and then he comes up with an idea called Dracula's House of 666 Frankensteins.
Yeah, he's like, it's always
full of original ideas.
I love this thing. Here he's talking about how like, it's like nobody knows which one's Frankenstein. And in my movie, everybody's Frankenstein.
Yeah, and Henry calls him out on that bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, wait, isn't Frankenstein the doctor? He's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Who created Frankenstein then?
Dracula? Well, and the Wolfman will be in it too.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
So then, Henry he gets picked up by Ruvine, which is my combination of RuPaul and Divine.
Divine, right?
To go to the John Twatters movie and leaves Henry alone with the cat.
And it doesn't go well.
No. And this is all based on when my wife's dog, who and I didn't get along with for like the first year. So,
really?
Yeah. It's a lot of me chasing around the house trying to get him to. I don't know. It was difficult. Oh yeah, there's a centerfold pinup.
Yeah, because you are also a painter.
Mm-hmm.
You do, you teeter the edge when you do like your fine art stuff and your comic stuff, and then you marry the two sometimes.
Try to, yeah.
Yeah. This spread. This spread is chaotic and it's perfect.
Thanks.
And this cat face is the best.
It's like Salem's Lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, and the records flying, you like knowing Henry Rollins, this would be you may as well like punch his mother in the face.
Mm-hmm. And he tore up a Wolverine comic too.
Oh my god.
And he shat in the comic boxes.
It's so good. So he calls to find out how it is, and the cat just like busted through the wall.
It's Tasmanian devil.
But then you start to introduce this idea that John Twatters is a sort of like a renegade filmmaker, and
Mm-hmm.
you never know when the film is actually started. Like they could be being filmed right now.
Yeah.
And
so it just starts with a detour, and this is like all taken from, so they're making a remake of the Herschel Gordon Lewis film 2000 Maniacs, which was a horror film from the 60s by an amazing director, weird director, very low budget. But you should look it up if you don't know it. It's great. It's about a bunch of rednecks who kidnap some tourists and torture them to death in the name of the South. And so John Twatters is making a remake of it called 2020 Maniacs.
Okay.
And it takes place in Death Valley. So a lot of this is taken directly from 2000 Maniacs, just kind of redrawn for this scenario.
Oh, and they've been cast as president and vice president in this movie. So they already know where it's going to go. They just don't know like what they're getting into.
Yeah. So meanwhile, back at home, Glenn's dealing with missing Iggy.
Yeah, and then you got Hall & Oates coming over and kind of like giving him shit about it, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was like, well, he's like, you should hang these higher.
Yeah,
you gotta make jokes.
Well,
and he's just talking about like, we're all living in a simulation. Nothing's real, man.
Yeah, let's go back home and watch some Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. Just total stoner metalhead dude, basically.
Your depiction of them is so funny because that's like, not them at all.
It's what you wish they were.
What you wish they were. Now they like, are suing each other or whatever.
Yeah,
so
sadly.
Like, yeah, man, I'm surprised that didn't creep into here. Like, they're getting a divorce.
I mean, it might. I've thought about it. It's in my notes.
So he's trying to build this like Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah.
And
by the way, coming up with an actual fully functional Rube Goldberg device is so difficult. So this is my cheat. I just like drew like he couldn't really put it all together,
right?
Because I couldn't really put it all together. So I just had to get that gag in.
Yeah, because you have to have some slapstick going on in there. So the cat like cuts it and he gets the plunger in the face. Yep. And then they're
back to the movie.
Yep, they're filming it, and they like they beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, it's on full January 6th.
Damn.
Here, and the 2000 Maniacs ends with a big barrel roll death scene, so this is like a take on that a little bit.
That doesn't sound like a fun way to go.
No, it's full of nails too. They hammer nails into it,
God.
so it really stabs the hell out of you.
It was the probably the beginning of torture porn films.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I mean, Saoirse Gordon-Lewis is known as the godfather of all gore films because he was the first one to like really have really bloody effects and like using animal parts and meat as effects. So he did a great movie called Wizard of Gore. It's about a magician that hypnotizes people and then he'll like actually cut them in half, but they don't know that they're cut in half until they get home later, and then their guts just fall out. Stuff like that. Just amazing.
Little local anesthesia.
His most famous one is probably Blood Feast, which is about a cannibal catering service, basically.
And so the film is done. It's done being filmed.
Yeah, Glenn's coming home.
Yep.
I mean, Henry's coming home. And Glenn's worried about it.
And he takes off, and the cat comes back just in time.
Immediately.
Yeah, of course. That's probably like something you experienced with the dog, right?
Yeah. He'll hide from me all day and then show up as soon as she gets home.
Mm-hmm. So he's like hiding in the closet.
Yeah.
Scared what to do.
And then this precursor to the rest of this main storyline is that their house, which is based on Glenn's house, is totally falling apart, and which is also based on my own house, which is totally falling apart, and I fear falling through the bathroom floor every time we take a shower. So
that's good. It
ends with their house totally falling apart, and they realize that next issue they're going to have to start rebuilding it or sell it and move. So yeah, you
write what you know, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have more issues then?
Yeah. It's I mean, so far the story is planned for at least 4 issues, but yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. See what else I come up with. I haven't put any timeline on it yet. I've only written the second issue and started barely penciling it. But if I can get like at least 1 issue a year or 2 issues a year of the next couple of years out, I'll be happy.
Nice.
So while working on other stuff too, because I've got more humans in the works as well. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So then you finish it with this like really great anecdotal story about going to Baltimore to do a signing when the big book, right, came out.
Yeah. No, this when the series that led to the big book came out. So this was a little earlier than that. I think issue 1 or 2 of Henry and Glenn Forever and Ever had come out, and Ed Luce was involved in that issue too. So he joined me for that signing. We went to Maryland Death Metal Festival for the weekend, which was awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, you're talking about how are these guys all wearing leather? It's like 100 degrees out here.
Yeah.
And then you get on the plane and you're sitting next to this dude who's like clearly looks like he's in some sort of like metal band of some sort, and you find out he's a drummer, and then you find out he's the drummer for Samhain.
Yep.
I don't know them.
That's Danzig's second band from Misfits. Then he did Samhain, then he did Danzig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he was the original drummer, and then he was the current touring drummer. He eventually, I think there were like 2 or 3 drummers with Samhain. But yeah, London May was the drummer for Samhain.
So this makes even more sense now that I have that context. I was missing that piece. All right, so you talk about you start to talk about how you're a comic artist here.
Yeah, he thinks I'm in a band because at the time I had spiky hair and metal shirts and stuff. So,
right.
Yeah, he starts asking me, I do comic books. He's like, oh, I love comics. And he's asking me about what I do. So I told him like all the other stuff I've done, my graphic novels and stuff. But in my head, I was like, do I tell him about Henry and Glenn? Do I tell him? And then finally I was like, maybe you've heard of this one, Henry and Glenn Forever. He's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And he literally put his head in his hands for like a full minute. And I fully expect him to jump up and just punch me in the face. And but he was just like, all right, we're sitting next to each other for a reason. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did my best to kind of like remember, like, it's not an actual transcription, but the basic gist of our conversation is here.
Yeah,
So,
and you defended it in a very like smart and intellectual way. Like, I'm a fan, and he doesn't make it. He makes it very easy to make fun of him, and he should basically be okay with that.
Yeah.
And by the time you got to the end of the conversation, he wasn't like totally fine with it.
No, he was like, I'm not into what you're doing, but you seem like a cool guy.
Yeah, so, and he can kind of respect it a little bit, because the punk aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, at some point he started telling me other stories too about like Glenn that pieces of might creep in here, but like, yeah, I mean, everything he told me about Glenn kind of justified what I was doing.
Right.
And every story that people tell me along the way about like what he's like behind the scenes kind of justifies what I'm doing. So I don't know. It's just like, I love him, and it's fun to make fun of him,
Yeah. I mean, it really does all come out of love and, fandom.
Yeah.
And the fans all seem to be behind it, you know, for the most part.
Some of them are very much not that way, but they're the sycophantic Danzig fans that don't have any sense of humor.
Right.
So, but most people that like my book are fans of both of them. So, and then at the end, he invites me to come see. He was also drumming for Coldplay.
Oh, really?
He's like, I'm playing with Coldplay next week if you want to come. And I was like, I didn't go. I should have.
Oh my god.
But,
did that say
not
that
Coldplay, it's a Cold Cave. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to be like, wait, what?
Cold Cave. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
That's funny. I got them mixed up.
Yeah. Very different, right?
Very different if he was playing with Coldplay.
Oh, okay. So he's like a session drummer or something. Dude, you know that I'm a Masters of the Universe guy. I've got a whole wall of people drawing Masters of the Universe. I got puppets, for God's sake, of Skeletor. This is awesome.
Oh, wow, you do.
Yeah. This is awesome. And these were actually made, right?
Yeah, this the South American, I think he lives in Brazil, this artist named Kalaka, who is Kalaka Toys, Kalaka. He's just a weird bootleg toy maker who makes, very small editions of weird ideas of toys. So, he'll have and a lot of them are He-Man based.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of mashup jokes and stuff like that. So he was doing Glenn figure, and this is back in 2016 that he contacted me, and he asked me if I would do the packaging art because he was a fan of Henry and Glenn. And I was like, yeah, but let's make it a Henry and Glenn collaboration, and you do a Henry doll as well. So we did both of these, and he only made handmade 10 visions, and then the packaging was all screen printed with artwork by me and stuff.
These are not easy to. You got to make them all by hand.
Yeah. And he was making, they're literally hand sculpted, but they're based off models of He-Man figures, and he sculpted the rest.
Yeah.
But and then we released him as an art show at La Luz de Jesus Gallery in 2017. So, and you'll see there's a new Super 7 line of Glenn Danzig He-Man dolls out now.
No way.
Yeah.
I missed that.
They just came out.
What?
We never did these two, by the way. I wanted to, but we never got to that. But yeah, we only did 10 versions. They were limited edition art pieces, so don't sue us.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the cool thing was that Super 7 actually, I was at DCon, DesignerCon, and Super 7 knew the main guy behind me. He came up to me and asked me, he's like, hey man, I know you've done these before, but Glenn literally asked us if he would do He-Man figures of him. And
probably got the idea from you.
He might have. And so, but the Super 7 guys were like, we just wanted to see we know you already did it, but is it going to piss you off if we do that? And it's like, but we really want to work with them. I was like, dude, no, yeah. I'm like a weird artist doing my thing, and these were literally just an art piece.
Right.
10, only 10 made. So if you got that license, go for it, do it, have fun with it. And so it took them 5 years, but 5 years later, they've got theirs released. And they're beautiful. They're really well done. But mine are cooler.
Right. It's kind of cool that he actually asked you because he didn't have to. He literally had the license.
Yeah, I mean they're DIY punks at heart. They're cool, you know. That's why, you know, Forever Super 7 is cool with me because they asked me, and they had no reason to. They were just being cool. They're just like, so, and that's funny. It's happened. That's not the first time that's happened, because the company that I first did Henry England enamel pins with, Yesterdays, a couple of years later, they got the license to do Misfits. Then I did bobbleheads with a company called Agronautics. 6 months later, they got the deal to do Misfits bobbleheads. So
this isn't a coincidence, then. After three times,
I think it's maybe Jerry that controls their licensing and marketing, but one of them is at least following me around and getting ideas.
That's a trip, man.
And every time they're like, "Hey, man, I got to cancel your line so I can take this license." I'm like, "Cool, do it. You're making more money off them than me."
Absolutely. So, what are you gonna do?
So thanks for having fun with me first. So
yeah, and then be like, also you could be like, how about you do a humans toy or a pin or
but then they're like, "Oh, we can't work with you anymore."
Damn it. And then here we go. We got the back cover.
Yeah, by Justin Hall, who did a short story in Henry England Forever and Ever, the big book, called where he takes them to hell. It's called Going to Gades, and it's great. It's got, but he's a teacher at CCAC in San Francisco. Teaches comics. We've been friends since probably 2004, 2005, when I first started doing comics, and it's great to have him do it. You would probably know his most well known for being one of the editors of No Straight Lines, the Fantagraphics anthology that's a history of queer comics.
Yeah.
So he was the editor of that book, as well as many others. So
awesome.
Cool to have him aboard. And anytime if I get Justin or Ed Luce or somebody, I'm like, you guys can go as gay as you want. Whereas other artists, I'm like, we got to be careful not to tread the line of being offensive. But if it's an actual LGBTQ artist, I'm like, you do whatever you want.
Yeah,
just not X-rated, because we never do that.
Right.
So.
And this is put out by Microcosm.
Yes.
So microcosm.pub is where you can go to get this, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, that's what it says. I'll put a link in the notes. But they're interesting. Where did you find this publisher?
So that goes way back to 2008 or 7. They're based in Portland, and so when I first started out in comics, I was really good friends with Dylan Williams, who ran Sparkplug Comic Books, which was a small press house out of Portland that published. The first publisher of a lot of artists that you see today, like Katie Skelly and sorry, my brain's gonna forget everybody at the moment. But anyway, a lot of people that went on to be published by Fantagraphics and whatnot. Yeah. They first got their first step with Dylan, and he also distributed a lot of artists and self-publishers. So I teamed up with him for years and kind of became his partner in a lot of ways, and I took over his company briefly after he died. But anyway, around 2007, I just had the self-published zine version of Henry England, and every time I went to a convention, people would ask me, "When are you going to do more Henry England?" And I was really into doing my serious graphic novel, The Wolf, at the time. Yeah. And trying to be like an artsy poet cartoonist, and everybody wanted this dumb thing. And I was like, "Dylan, I don't know if I want to do this." He's like, "Well, then see if you can find a publisher that'll do it, and then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. They'll just put it out in the world and send you checks." And he introduced me to his friends that ran Microcosm, and Joe Beal and his wife, and they hesitantly picked it up at first. The very original zine that they did was only 1,000 copies, and it sold out overnight. So then they immediately were like, "Let's do more," and it's been in constant print ever since the original zine. So, and then they were smart enough. They primarily deal with zines and a lot of very progressive politics zines and books and stuff. Look them up there. They've got a lot of stuff. They don't do a lot of comics, but they deal with a lot of people that will have comics or art in their books.
Their whole line is super interesting.
Yeah, they come mostly from the zine world. So the brilliance of it for Henry and Glenn was that it connected to a more indie underground audience that was used to weirder stuff and had a connection to punk rock and music and stuff. Whereas like the comics world literally totally ignored Henry and Glenn for like the first 6 years that it was out. And while it sold over 100,000 copies before Diamond even picked it up. And all through Microcosm, their own distribution, and all through music stores and zine stores and small bookstores around the country. So that was what really propelled it to its success, was finding an audience outside of the comics world, because the comics world there's not that many like musically astute people out there. You know?
Right.
It's becoming more now, but like especially back then, it seemed like nobody knew anything about it.
Yeah.
So
that's a trip. What a long, strange trip for this thing, you know. And it's, you know, you took a hiatus of like 6 years or something, right?
Almost 10 since.
Oh, that was 10?
Yeah, I mean, I've done after the original book, once the hardcover came out, I was like, maybe I'm done with the comics, and I started doing like toys and art shows and different kind of art projects with them. But then, this is the first time I've come back to drawing actual comics again. So
amazing.
This, because I've been working on the humans mostly for the last 10 years. So
So before, we're going to take a look at some of the original pages from this too, which is awesome. But let's talk about humans for one quick second. So humans is coming back, at some point here.
I've got 5 issues drawn of the sequel series, The Jungle, and we're just trying to figure out where to find a home for it.
Awesome.
So we'll see what happens. I'm literally pitching it to publishers right now. So hopefully we can get some issues out next year.
I mean,
but I mostly wanted to focus on drawing most of it, finish drawing it before we got it on the schedule, because being on a monthly schedule is a nightmare. Which we did for the original humans, and it almost killed me.
Jeez.
So I was like, I'll never do that again. I want to finish at least 5 issues before anything comes out. So
that's a good call. And what are you on right now, would you say?
5 issues.
You have 5?
Basically volume 3 of the, humans is collected in 2 volumes so far. 10 issues, 2 volumes, and then this will be volume 3. And then there's 5 more issues after that Keenan's written that I have not started drawing yet.
Gotcha.
So
humans, you draw like 2 up?
The sheets of paper are 15 by 20. The dimensions of the drawings, I think, is the same as Kirby. It's like 12 by 19.
Okay.
Something like that.
12 by 19?
12 and a half by 19.
Like maybe. Round? Okay.
And but this is the first time I've drawn on this comic book artboard stuff, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Makes some ruling out the stuff a lot easier.
Right.
You can't see that. Yeah, this is the Hansen comic book art paper.
Oh yes. Yeah, get that on there. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So, do you use a Ames guide to do your lettering?
Not always, but a lot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, especially for big bubbles like this. Yeah, definitely.
Right. What do you set it at?
Usually 6 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So all right. So over there.
Yeah.
Because your hand lettering is always really great. What do you use to letter it with?
Mostly microns or Staedtler pens.
Like a big 8 or something.
For the bold will be like 7 or 8. The usual is about 4 or 5. Sometimes as much as this is really small.
Yeah.
Probably a 3 or a 2. But most of my drawing is nib and brush. Mm-hmm. The lettering is microns and stuff.
What kind of brush or nib do you use?
Oh, a lot of this was Zebra G.
Oh,
Zebra
really?
G pen, yeah.
Wow.
But I try new nibs all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
You,
Yeah, I've got this thing of just 2,000 friggin' nibs in it.
It's fun.
A million different things.
Oh, I love these. These are so much fun.
So how do I use that?
Just dip it in. Just fucking scrape.
So is it big and fat?
Yeah.
Or do those lines, are those just for holding ink, or is it?
Yeah, it kind of holds ink.
Okay.
These are fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get anything good out of it. It's fun for doing really rough effects and stuff,
This one you turned me on to.
Yeah, I love this thing.
That's
Nobody
amazing.
Can see that? It's where's the camera? It's 5. This is actually made for doing music stats, so you can get 5 lines across. But I started drawing with these recently, and they're really fun.
This was like a $60 nib from Japan.
Whoa, that's a cool one.
It's cool. It has no give.
Wow.
None. It's like a Toth line. It's weird.
Oh,
I'm like, why is this how much it is? And this is a weird looking one. Check this one out.
Ooh, that's fun. Have you tried the ones that look like they're flipping you off? It's actually it's a pointing finger, but I like to pretend it's a middle finger.
Are they these? Witch pens?
No. There's actually one that is shaped like a hand.
No.
It's a nib that's shaped like a hand, and it draws on one of the fingers. And I've learned about him from Jim Woodring. He uses them a lot.
Well,
but they have the like fingers of the hand hold even more ink.
Oh, that makes sense. So you can go longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're really cool.
Yeah, that's what I hate about working with nibs and brushes is that you have to keep dipping it. And then, like, if I'm working on something,
I actually like because it makes me take breaks. Because when I start doing lettering with nibs, my hands cramp hard.
Yeah.
When I'm doing microns. When I do
right.
nibs and brushes, my hands don't cramp because I'm constantly taking a 2-second break. That
actually makes kind of sense to me. When I'm working on like serious stuff, I'll break out the nibs and the brushes. And I'm working on stuff that I just got to get out.
You just got to crank it.
It's markers and Pentel brushes. Your white media that you did with this?
Sometimes it's the Dr. P.H. Martin's white ink, and then sometimes I just use those white gel pens.
Yeah, the Doc Martin stuff. I have all these different whites, and they always just like cake up on me, and I can't get them. I can't get them back.
And sometimes I use white gouache.
Yeah, I just got some.
Rather than white out.
Start messing with that. Yeah.
You have to layer it to get it smooth, but thin layers. Yeah.
Jeez, look at these things. What do you rule your panels with the microns too?
Yes. Yeah. These panel structures in these pages, fun fact, these are all based on Karl Barks. Because he would do these these very angular panels during action sequences, so that's why I did this, and it gives it just to add to the dream sequence aspect of it to make it different from the rest of the book, and emphasize that I love Karl Barks and the nephews. So
all the way back then, he was doing these interesting layouts, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I don't think in comics people were even doing that yet.
Man, you can find some really weird panels in some Golden Age stuff.
Is that right?
I was looking at a weird Western comic recently. I can't remember who it was, but like every panel was like wavy lines, and it's insane to look at. It's beautiful to look at, but you can't read it. You
run the risk of that. Every time that you go away from a grid structure, you run the risk of not telling the story the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And then you got this bias as you're working on it, where you think that it's working because you know what it's supposed to be doing, but there's a disconnect from the audience. Mm-hmm. So when it actually comes out, people can't tell what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes that can be useful.
Sometimes it depends on what's going on in the scene.
You have to figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer that there's no actual rules in art. You just have to know how to use the mistakes in the right way.
Yeah, I mean the rules.
Or use weird ideas in the right way that make them work. You can make certain sections illegible if there's a reason for it.
Right, exactly. But I think you also should have a foundation and know the rules.
Oh yeah,
and then justify your breaking them.
Definitely.
Yeah. You can break them all over the place.
For real, yeah.
As long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. What kind of brush are you using on this stuff?
Man, I my favorites, and they're all like 10 years old and like craggly and gross and like dying, but I never had a spade. It's Isabey, Isabey.
Mm-hmm.
Watercolor brushes, series 6228, number 3.
Okay.
I find them I like them better than the Winsor Newton series 7, which every cartoonist swears by. But I use some Winsor Newtons too. But I also use some really cheap liner brushes, like those $3 liner brushes. Just, sometimes you have to throw them away after drawing a comic, but they're not bad.
This is my brush. This is a new one. I got to crack it open because I've destroyed them. Well, they're from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped making them.
Oh shit! I hate that.
Yeah, and that shop downtown. You can open it if you want, but I got a shit one here.
Oh yeah, show me the shit one.
That shop downtown that is it has like Japanese art supplies.
Yeah, Kinokuniya.
Yes.
I love that place.
Well, let's talk about their customer service for a second.
Oh, well.
because no, it's good because I went in there and I was like, I'm looking for this brush, and they're like, we've never seen that before. It's called a face brush, and I assume it's for like doing makeup or something. And they were like, we've never seen it before, never heard of it. We can't find it anywhere. But we'll write down your number, and if we run across it, we'll call you. 3 years later, I got an email from them saying we found 5 of them.
That's awesome.
And I bought them all, and I haven't been able to find one since. And I was like having a panic attack because I've destroyed 3 of them since then, and I couldn't find my other ones.
Wow. That's cool to know because I mean I love that store. Some of the people behind the counter don't know what the hell is in the store at all, but the guy at the pin counter is usually very cool.
Yeah.
I used to get deleters, screen tones from them, and they stopped carrying them like 2 years ago. I don't know why.
Really?
But yeah, probably could ask them to order it.
You can order directly from Deleter too.
I know, but I like going to stores.
I know, me too. Picking up other shit that you didn't mean to pick up.
I'm old. I like to be like, I have to drive across town to do this.
Yes, I love to leave my house.
Sold a couple of pages.
That's great.
This is the Hall & Oates page. Or no, this was them coming home. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, man, this stuff is just so great.
Thanks.
And you didn't, it's here. Okay. So, it works so well when it's shrunk down too, you know?
That's always my fear is that it's not going to work. But I think I've figured it out over the years how to make it work. My biggest worry is sometimes when I letter really small, like on that first page, the one little joke. I thought that would be too small when it shrunk down, but it worked out fine.
That's great. It's the way that the printing process works now. You don't really lose much.
No, you really don't. You really don't.
I'm drawing the 3-headed pigman stuff on 19 by 24. The actual size is smaller than that, but people are always telling me like, oh, that's not going to work when you shrink it down because I'm going to shrink it down to like about the size of Henry and Glenn. And
pretty good.
And
really good.
Yeah, and I've done some test runs just even on a crappy printer, and it works.
And then
out
if
really
you
great.
get an opportunity to print it larger someday, you can.
Exactly. The big artist edition. Yeah, these pages look so good, man.
Thanks.
What kind of ink do you use?
P.H. Martin's Black Star Matte.
Okay.
I like the Black Star Matte just because it just dries so flat.
Yeah, that's what I love. It's really flat. And does it dry quickly too?
Akira Toriyama.
Oh, yeah.
Dragon Ball references. He died literally the week I was writing this.
Manga reaction.
I did not. Oh, that's not even. That's the camera we're pointing at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a little small tribute to Dragon Ball.
So good.
Yeah, I really dreaded drawing myself. Honestly, I was gonna have other artists draw these stories, but then I was like, then I have to supply so much reference, so maybe I'll just draw it myself. And I just had to draw it as fast as I could, so I didn't think about it too much.
And these faces are inspired by Archie.
Yeah, a little bit of art. I mean, I can't. When I draw cartoony women, they come out very Dan DeCarlo. I can't avoid it. And then he's I don't know. He's just kind of slightly manga-ish, but not really.
Right.
That's a very kind of Dan DeCarlo-ish.
Yeah,
face.
it's Jugheady.
I don't really. I mean, when I'm doing this, I was trying to draw it fast and not really think too much about.
Yeah. So you just got it in the chops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes out.
You absorbed it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, man, these are so good. So good.
Oh, that's secret. Can't show my secret bat story yet.
All right. Awesome. Well, cool, man. So we know that microcosm.pub is where you get Henry and Glenn. And then where else do people find you on the webs?
My Instagram is I Will Destroy Tom, at I Will Destroy Tom. My website is IWillDestroyYou.com. And then I have a Patreon that's just Patreon/Tom Neely. Where's the Tom Neely artist?
I don't know. We'll figure it out and put it in the show notes.
But yeah, so that's it. No Twitter, no Facebook.
So much destruction in your tags. So much destruction in your tags. I will destroy you.
No, yeah, no. That started a long time. That started back in the 90s. It was I had my very first art show in art school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, it was just like I wanted I wanted the poster to look like an old horror movie poster. So it was "I Will Destroy You," and that was that stuck with me. And then I got the website in like '99 because my friend was a tech guy, and he's like, "Oh, you got to get that domain before somebody steals it." So I've had it forever.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing this, man.
Yeah,
I love all these stories, and it was really cool to look at everything. I can't. Anytime you want to come back, please do.
Yeah, it's fun.
We'll talk more.
Thanks.
All right, dude. Take care.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody. Join my Patreon to see my work before anyone else. Plus, score physical sketchbooks, mini comics, and commissions delivered right to your door. And read my new books, Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, as they are made. Go to my website to order original art, commissions, and my books, Lost Angels, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, and more. Gray Matter Drip, The Art of Chris Anderson, is available now from Cosmic Lion Productions. Here are the upcoming conventions I'll be at the time of this recording. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps spread the word. Thanks.